Hi guys! Well, we're back in the workshop, and in this video I want to show you guys how to make some sawhorses, trestles, whatever you want to call them. These particular ones, I've had them for years and years and years, made them with some very simple hand tools way back when, and they're still serving me well, but I want some taller ones, because these are good for certain jobs, but other times I want to be up higher, like the woodwork table. So we're going to make some taller ones, and you can come along for the ride and see how I do it. It's going to be a bit of a how-to video. I'll explain to you what I'm doing, and I'll offer some different options depending on the tools you've got. Might be a bit long-winded. Hang out with me and see how it goes. All right, so first of all, let's get a closer look at how they're made. Okay, so let's have a look. What's going on here? We've got 4 legs and 4 stretchers and 1 stretcher hinged, which allows it to fold up easily and open. And all of the joinery, it's half laps. Can you see? Now that's been reinforced. It's got broken one time over the years, but this is a half lap and a half lap. This is a cross halving, I think, when it goes like this. So there you go. That's what's holding them together. That and some glue. I popped some screws in here when I did it. Probably I didn't have any clamps to close it up. And I've had these things for, well, I don't know how many years. 20 years probably. I don't know. And they were made out of some old bed frames, so you can still see a mortise here. So there you go. So here's some boards I've got that I'm going to make them out of now. So first of all, we're going to cut this to rough length and plane it. Like I said, I want it taller. So I think I'm just going to draw myself a bit of a sketch to see how wide they're going to open to the height that I want and how long I'm actually going to want the leg. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so I'm going to use this as my drawing board, a bit of plywood. And the first thing I'm going to need is the center line, because I'm going to draw the side of these sawhorses like this. So what have we got? 38. We can just do a straight line on those 2 points and draw a line, or I can use a 90-degree angle. Oh, that all looks cool. And I'll draw a line. Okay. Now I need to measure how far apart I want the legs to be when they're open. And I measured the old sawhorses, and they were 60, and that's great by me. I don't know how I ever came to that measurement, but that's the measurement that they are. So I'm going to do the same here. Mark 30, and again 30 is 60. Like this. Now the height of these sawhorses should be, well, I want them about 80, and then if you chuck a door on top, you're going to have 84, 85, which is comfortable height to work for me. I like it. Okay, so now I take my straight line again, and I go from my 30 or 60 mark over to my 80 mark, like this. Now it's not going to be exactly like that, because the material has thickness. So in actual fact, I'll draw that is. Yeah, that's cool. Cool. So the top of my sawhorse is up here. I don't need any more than that. And the material that I have, after I've planed it, should come down to something like 3.5 centimeters. 3.5. And again. 3.5. Okay, that'll be a bit of a gap for a hinge, but I'm not going to get crazy about this stuff. Let's go here, let's go here. Now look, I've just discovered another mark on my board here. Let me get rid of that, it's confusing. And I'm just going to check I'm on the right mark here. Yeah. So, on my 3.5 mark, 60 mark. And make a line. Now from the material, it's going to be like 3.5 on this side. On the other side, it'll have a different dimension, but here it's going to be 3.5, which isn't necessarily correct. 3.5 would be at 90 degrees like this. It's hardly any difference. Let's draw 3.5. 3.5. See, it's crossed over the line there, but really, it's not rocket science, guys. I don't even need to really draw this side if I don't want. Now I know how long a piece I need for the legs, and that was the most important thing for me. So now I've figured that out. I could decide what height, but I think I'm going to do that when I've built them. What height this folding, this one, the folding stretcher, whatever it's called. So there we are. All right, so that's the length my legs need to be. And then I also should remember that they're going to be square on the end, like 90 degrees. So that's, yeah, that's its maximum length. And that would be its maximum length. So if I just square that one off to 90 degrees, think it like this. Like that. Now I know that from here to here, 85.5. And that gives me a height of 80. And the spread, this is 30, of 60. Alright, so now I can start marking out my material and cutting it and planing it and jointing it and all of that stuff. So now I know how long my legs are going to be. I should write myself a cutting list, and I advise you to do the same. I know I need for each horse 4 legs, so 8 legs of the size I just got off that plan over there, 85.5. It's rough material, so I'm going to go a little bit longer, I don't know, 87, 88, see what I can get out of the board. So I'm going to write myself a cutting list of all the parts I need, and then I can mark out and cut it. Okay, because this is a bit of a stop and go project, I've been teaching all week and doing other jobs, I'm all ready to go and cut everything to length on the table saw, but I never actually made a proper plan yet. So I think I should stop a minute and just jot down a little bit of a sketch, make sure I've got all my lengths written down before I cut anything. I think that would be a wise idea. So yeah, deflated me a little bit, but there we are. That's what I'm going to do now. Okay, so look what I just remembered. I actually used this template to find out the length of the leg. I'll just zoom in. There we are. So the length of my leg is 88.5, I think. 85.5, sorry. And the height will be 80. So now with those measurements, I know the height. The width, well, I'm just looking what I cut up roughly before, but I'll go and check that now and fill in all the numbers on my little sketch. Well, these two guys were actually hatched out during this coronavirus lockdown. They've made themselves quite at home in the workshop. There's a broken window they've been getting in and out of. Their parents have been coming and feeding them, and now they're doing their first flights around the workshop. Isn't that sweet? Look, oh, look at that. Okay, so where were we? So now we know the height. 85.5, that's the length I need to cut my legs. This is 80. There's going to be another one here. Go all the way across because they're all half lapped. This is going to be 82, of course. So there we are. So just do me a little cutting list, which I did do previously, but somehow I've lost it, whatever. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4 legs for each sawhorse. So I need 8 legs of 85.5. And I need 8 stretchers of 80, and then there's these little pieces with the hinge in the middle, but never mind about that. We'll cut that to length later when we play with the way it opens up here. So there's going to be hinged pieces in the middle, but we'll worry about that in a little while. Okay, so now I'm just going to go to the table saw and cut all these pieces to length. Yes! Now we can do some sawing. Okay, so this is the kind of joinery we're going to be using to put these sawhorses together. This is called a half lap. I'll put a link in a video somewhere, I don't know, somewhere over there. I'll put you a link. And this is how it is. You see it's half and half. I hope you can see that nicely. And it's just put together like that with a bit of glue. And that's all I'm going to do for these these sawhorses. I don't need any more than that. You can even pop in a nail or a screw or a dowel or something if you like. But those that I built many, many years ago, which I showed you at the beginning, that's all that hold them together, and they've stayed together long enough for me. And so that'll be the top, where the top one sits on the leg. There'll be a half lap. And then this is called a cross halving joint or a cross lap,
and it goes like this. And we don't actually need a cross like this anywhere, but we do need is something like this. Well, without the gap, of course. But we need like this between the leg and the other leg. There's a stretcher. So we're going to be putting in another one like this. Okay. Now I'm going to cut all this on the table saw, but there's videos I'll put you links somewhere around here, you'll see them. And in those videos I show you how to do them with hand tools, just with a saw. This is totally with a saw. This one needs a chisel as well, but you could do it with a rasp in a pinch. Do a series of saw cuts and knock it out with a screwdriver. It's only a sawhorse. This is not a piece of fine furniture, guys. It's just to help you work a bit more comfortable. La la la. Okay, so now I'm going to start marking out and set up the saw to do these cuts. So first of all, I'm just going to mark one out on a piece of scrap, and then I can set up the saw. I've got a few other pieces of scrap that I cut for this purpose. Now, without getting too crazy about measurements and stuff, what you can do is you can sort of like eyeball the middle and then flip it around, and this is my measurement here, my finger, and do it again. And now between those two lines, that should be the middle. So now I can take, you can take a ruler, you can take a set square. I've got a combination square, which means this piece can move and be locked in place if I need. So now I'm just going to pop that like this. It's a bit uncomfortable because I've got a camera in my face, but I'm going to pop this so that my pencil now should fall in the middle. A bit too far, a bit too little. Play around. I want to be here. There we are. And now I'll just tighten up the screw, and I can just make a check. Make a mark here and flip it around. Oh, this is a bit uncomfortable. Flip it around, make another mark. Oh, and I've still got a little gap, so I can close it up a little bit more. There we are. That's good enough. Like I said, it's just a pair of sawhorses. We don't need to get too crazy. That's good enough for me. So now, middle is one distance. Yeah, I need to know where is the middle. I'm working very crooked. Like I said, I've got a camera in my face here. I want to know where's the middle. Like this. And also over the top here, I want to mark it. Like that. And then I'm going to take off half. That's why it's called a half lap. I'm going to want to take off half, like this. Now I need to mark a shoulder line as well. This is the width of my material. So I'm just going to put it here, feel that it's flush here, and you could put another block of wood there if you wish, and butt it all up tight, and draw your shoulder line, and you need to mark that all the way. And that is what needs to go. So now I'm going to set up my saw to this height. And I'm going to set up my, it's called a ladder where I live, but it's not a ladder. I'm going to set up my fence to this distance and the saw to this height, and then I can make my shoulder cut. Now I've got a lot of these guys to cut, and I also need to cut out the cross housing joint, or whatever the darn thing's called, which is partial way along the leg. It's kind of like this. It's not on the end, it's somewhere in the middle of the material. So I've got a lot of them to cut out. So maybe I'm just going to cut the shoulder and then stand it on the saw this way and cut this off and take this whole piece off in one go. Alternatively, I could cut many cuts like this and then just knock it out with a chisel, or take a lot of cuts and actually remove it all on the saw. Yeah, the possibilities are endless, and like I said, I'll put you a link if you're doing it with hand tools up there. If someone else has got any other ideas, you could also do it on a bandsaw. I would still do this cut or by hand or by... You could do this on a bandsaw too, actually. I mean, no reason why not. Just be careful. Okay, so now I'm going to set up the saw. And I'm going to lock the blade at that height. I'm just going to take a test cut. Lovely, no problem. So that distance is this distance. Okay, so now I can just make the shoulder cut of all of my pieces. Okay, so that's all my shoulder cuts done on the legs and all the stretchers. So now I need to decide what height is the stretcher going, and I've got 2 shoulder cuts then to do here and here. So some kind of height like this, I'm just going to pick a number and draw a line. That. So now I have to set up the saw, leave the height the same, and move the fence. And also I'm going to use, you can see this, but I'm going to use the stopper, this thing here. Like that. So this one is tight. This one's a little teeny bit loose, so I'm going to say that's good. So now I'm going to do 2 full cuts. Okay, so now I've done these 2 cuts, I need to decide how to remove this material. So I can do a series of cuts, I could do just chop it out with a chisel, I could do a few cuts and chop it out with a chisel. Either way, if I want to do a few more cuts, what's happening at the moment is my reeving knife or splitter is preventing me moving it back. It's stuck on the reeving knife. Now I'm going to have to go all the way here and then go back, and then it's going to ride up on the reeving knife. So that's a problem. Why do I want to do that, you're asking yourselves? Because I can actually do a cut in reverse just to remove material lines. And then I could move it and do another cut, but the reeving knife is in my way. Now, I'm not in any way suggesting that you remove your reeving knife. I'm going to remove my reeving knife and I'm going to put it back afterwards. I feel it's legitimate and safe thing to do under these circumstances. But I am a big advocate of a reeving knife. I think you should have it fitted all of the time. Having said that, I'm going to take it off. But I really do think it's important. I'm not laughing about this. It's a very important thing. It stops the work riding up on the back of the saw and throwing it at you, twisting your hand through the saw, breaking your fingers, cutting your fingers, getting pieces of wood thrown in your head. It's very important. But I feel safe to do what I'm doing now. Just cutting backwards and forwards over the top of the blade. Everything's held tight against the fence. There's no reason it should ride up on the back of the saw. Okay, so now I'll show you what I intend to do. And then just clean it up on top of the saw. I think that's what I'm going to do. So now we've still got all of these cheeks to take off and all of these to take off. And I don't feel like doing it in the same method. I'm going to do it standing up like this and cutting it in this direction. But I'm going to use a jig because this is very unstable and you wouldn't want to just do that on the ladder. So I'm going to use a little jig to help. So this is the highly sophisticated, super duper high-tech Mark 1 jig that I built many years ago out of a bunch of scrap pieces of wood. And basically, this was an old shelf, look, for mica glued on the edge here. This screws onto the ladder, like this. This has got a groove here, just sits on top of there like that. Then slide backwards and forwards. And I can move this with the ladder, the fence I should say. Move this with the fence up to the saw wherever I wish, and then cut like this, and not take this piece of me, cut like this, and cut off that cheek. The first thing I should do is just check the height of the saw blade, which I already did. And now I'm going to screw this onto the fence, and I'll show you how I do a cut. Okay, so let's see. It all fits in there quite nicely, look. And that's how it looks. It's poking out a little bit, but I'd rather this poke out than this. So, and on this side it's actually flush. So yeah, the wood's been hanging around a few days. There we are, that's nice. So now I'm going to continue and cut all of these off the tops of the legs and off the sides of the stretchers. Okay, so here's the frame assembled. Everything went together quite nicely, no problems. All the hat flaps are fitting good. Just will be like this. There's no glue here at the moment, it's all just hanging together. Look, this just like that. So this all needs gluing now and clamping. Maybe just before I glue it, it would be a good idea. It's going to be standing like this. Something like the angle on this board is drawn. So perhaps it'd be better off I just cut the bottom of the legs now. Don't have to, you could always do it later. But I think I'll just cut that angle now. Alrighty, so all the joinery is cut. It's time to glue up. I've cut the angles on all of the legs. I left a little step here so that it won't break off a sharp corner. Everything's fitting together really nicely. So now it's time to glue up. So that's going to mean putting glue on all the joinery, putting clamps in this direction, and possibly putting clamps in this direction as well. And check then diagonal from corner to corner to see everything's square. Can check internally, put a 90-degree angle here, whatever. But it's getting late. We put in a few hours this evening. So I'm going to go and edit now so you guys can watch this. And if you liked it, please push that little like button, subscribe, share it with your friends. There's a bell there for notifications. If you click on that bell, then you get notifications. If you like this stuff, you're going to see more of it. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.